Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. So lockdown 2, I'm going to do another little video. This is going to be some of the new stuff that we've been doing since we came out of lockdown. So again, do your normal warm-ups, your mobility, whichever ones you want to do beforehand. But we'll just go through some of these quick standing drills first. So we're going to do a standing variation of cat and dog basically. So feet about hip width and shoulder width apart. We're just going to take a deep breath in. Let the body relax, and then we're going to start to tip from the pelvis. So you're tipping out the front of the bucket, trying to load the weight evenly heel to toe. Hands are going to come onto the thighs so we support the back. And all we do is just go through our basic cat and dog. So we're just going to take a breath and start to gently round or arch, squeeze the glutes, tuck the tailbone under. And then we slowly start to come into extension. So we lift the ribs, lift the chest, tipping out the front of the bucket now. Gaze is just neutral, so you're kind of looking forwards, try not to lift the head. And we'll just work through that. So you can keep this going, if you want to do this a little bit longer, that's absolutely fine. But try and find a rhythm that's comfortable for you. If it feels okay, same as normal cat and dog, once you've done a few, you're going to start to push a little deeper into each part of the movement. So we try and get a bit more flexion and engage into the abs to push up. We'll try and really extend. Just working through that range, just trying to keep that distance between your shoulders and your ears. Remember, we don't want to let the shoulders lift up, so keeping the shoulders back and down. Okay, and you could even hold each part of this if you wanted to, so you could come into your cat curl, hold it there for a few breaths. And gently relax into your extension. So the extension is the more important bit, to be honest, because I'm assuming over lockdown that we're perhaps sitting on the sofas a bit more than normal. So we're going to work on a bit more opening the front body today as well and strengthening the core. So perhaps hold your extension so you're tipping out the front of the bucket, you're lifting the chest away from the belly button. Okay, and then you would gently roll yourself all the way up to standing. Right, so we're going to come onto a gentle lateral flexion now. So again, feet hip width apart. Try and feel that your arms are alongside you and hanging rather than in front of you. So our shoulder blades are tucking, engaging. Chest is lifted. Slight pelvic tuck. We don't want to feel that we're overextending the lower back. Hands, palms facing in. And we're just going to very gently glide left and right. So your range here might just be a couple of inches. That's absolutely fine. Just see how it feels. But try to feel that as you're flexing through the trunk of the body, you're not lightening the weight out of the legs. So we don't want to feel that we're kind of tipping the weight. We want to feel that both feet are nice and evenly planted. So the movement comes from above the pelvis. Try and keep that extension as much as you comfortably can. So I'll show you from a couple of different angles. So it's tail tucked, shoulders are back and down, neutral neck, and we just glide. Imagine you're reaching your fingertips towards the outside of the knee or the thigh. But again, depending on how long your arms are, how long your body is. And you should feel a nice lengthening through these side lines. You might feel it lower back, you might feel it more around your obliques, your waist, your rib cage. It's just a nice, easy movement. Okay, if it feels easy, if it feels fine, obviously you can go a little deeper. Start to really stretch and reach it down, but work at your pace, work at a pace where you're pushing yourself, it's challenging you, should never be painful. Okay, I'll do a couple more of these, just breathing nice and easy, and then we'll come back to centre. Right, so we're going to do our thoracic rotation now, so we're going to show you from a couple of different angles. So we want to try and keep the feet hip width apart. We're going to have our arms stretched out to the front with our palms together. And all we do, we're trying to keep our hips forwards and we're trying to so we keep one arm facing front and we're trying to reach back so the other arm faces the wall behind us. And then we come back to centre and we change sides. But it's really important you get that lifted feeling. So we lift and we rotate. So if I show you from a couple of different angles. So feet hip width apart, hips, knees, toes all point forwards. Hands together so I know my shoulders are level to start with, and I'm trying to keep my left hand pointing towards the front and my right arm. I'm just going to open that and reach that back behind me. Then I come back to centre Right arm keeps reaching front, left arm. And I can track it, look behind, that hand with the balance. Allow the movement through the rib cage, the shoulders. Again, trying to keep the shoulders low so they don't elevate up. Keep that nice relaxed feel. A nice rotation, nice mobility movement for the upper body. Try and keep the lower body as still as you can. There might be a little bit of movement, a bit of rotation through the hips to start with, that's fine. But ultimately we're working towards trying to get this above the hips if possible. So you would do maybe 6 or 8 of those to either side, rotating from left to right. Okay, now I'm going to show you a little standing hip flexors. So this is quite a good one to do. It's quite a gentle one. So some of you, that have got great range, you might not find this is particularly effective, but it's a nice one to do for those of you that suffer from any knee issues, for example, if you don't like doing lunges or hero pose. So we start by taking 1 foot forwards and 1 foot back. So I'm going to have my right leg in front, my left leg back. It might look opposite on the video. I think it might flip the image. But 1 leg forwards, 1 leg back. And basically we want to keep our hip bones squared up so they're facing directly front. Tailbone is slightly tucked, abs are gently engaged, and I'm gently squeezing my glute muscles to keep them supported. Now my legs excuse me, are a little soft. I'm not locking out my knees. I'm keeping that little looseness there. But I've got even pressure through both feet. Okay, and all I'm going to do, so I'm trying to stretch the hip flexor on the leg that's at the back, the leg behind. So I take a deep breath in. I'm going to reach both arms up. And I'm going to use my right arm, so the same side that the leg's in front, I'm going to use that to gently support my lower back if I need to. If you don't need to, you can keep both arms reaching up, but it's there if you want it. And then my left arm starts to lift up slightly back and slightly away. So I'm leaning my left arm slightly to the back right point. I'm squeezing this left glute and I'm pushing my hip forwards. And I'm just trying to find that stretch by just rolling or easing my hip, my left hip into it. So I'm trying to feel the stretch left side. And you might feel it all the way down the ribs. So I'm drawing from above by pulling up. I'm pressing into that left heel. I'm squeezing my left glute. And I'm trying to find a nice stretch through this front line. Okay, and you can hold that for a few moments. There is an element of balance in this, obviously, so if you don't feel particularly balanced, you can perhaps have one hand leaning on the wall for support or keep your focus down rather than look up. But quite a nice hip flexor stretch. So we'll hold that for a breath or two. And then release out. So changing size, you've got 1 leg forwards, 1 leg staggered back, and you can play around this base. Again, if you've got great range, you might find taking a wider base. Tuck the tailbone under, lift the chest. So take a deep breath in, both arms are going to come up to start with, and then I'm either going to use my left arm to support my back now, or I can keep it reaching up. My right arm reaches and leans back and slightly to the left. My right buttock muscle is pushing my hip forwards, my tailbone is tucked under. Or another way of looking at it, imagine you're trying to pull your pubic bone up into your belly button. Both feet are firmly planted. I've got a little softness in my knees, I'm not locking them out. And my neck's just neutral, I'm gazing up. Or alternatively, if you prefer, you can just keep your focus down. But just hold that breathing into it. 2 or 3 good breaths. And then come back down. Right, bring the feet together. Right, we're going to come to a box position. So I'm just going to do a few movements in a box position, and then for the finishing, we're going to do our little back arch using either your yoga brick, if you've got one. If you haven't got a yoga brick, don't worry, I've improvised. You need a blanket or a thick bath towel, something that you can roll up into a kind of sausage shape, okay? And we can use, I'll show you how you can use both of these to do a nice little back arch. But otherwise, come down into your box position. So we're going to do a couple of moves. We're going to start just with some pelvic rocking and a bit of forwards and back rocking at the same time. So think as we tuck the tail under, just think your pelvic tilt. Squeeze your glutes, tuck your tail under. I'm just going to lean the weight back, so we're kind of back heavy or lower body heavy. And then we're going to move into our forward tilt, so we tip out the front of the bucket, lift the tailbone up, and we lean the weight forward, so we're upper body heavy now from shoulders. And we're just going to do that movement. So it's a pelvic tilt with a very gentle little rocking action, just going from forwards to back. And once you've done that, we're just going to round up, sit back into your child pose for a moment. So arms are reaching forwards, drop the head, draw your shoulders away from your ears. Take a couple of easy breaths. And then coming back up. Right, so we're going to do a couple of things to engage our core. The first one we're going to do is that little paddy pause action. Now remember, this is quite subtle, so you might not really see what I'm doing. You might not be able to see an awful lot of movement going on, but I'll try and talk you through it. So we've got our palms planted firmly. We're spreading the weight from the heel of the hand to the fingers. Shoulders are stacked directly above wrists. Wrists, little softness in the elbow. I'm not locking through. And I'm trying to maintain a nice, flat, strong back. So I'm holding from underneath, yeah? Breastplate draws up, front ribs, abs, even pelvic floor lifting up, just keep my back flat. Now imagine you've got a glass of water in the middle of your back, and we're trying not to tip it. We want to try and hold it there. But what we're going to do is literally just break contact with the palms of the hands, left and right. So we're alternating this from one side to the other. So it's a very small movement. You're barely lifting the hand off the ground, so you're just breaking that contact. I'm not lifting my hand up and down. I'm just trying to shift my balance so I can take the weight out of one hand at a time. Yeah, and the more kind of gentle and subtle you can get this, actually the more effective it's going to be, because we're really going to be targeting those deep core muscles to create this movement. So it's very gentle, doesn't look like you're doing an awful lot from the outside. If you're getting it right, it is actually quite powerful. You'll feel it in your deep core, you'll feel it in your abs, your mid-back maybe, front, around the front ribs, solar plexus area. It's also quite good for loading shoulder girdle, good for bone density. Okay, so we're lifting and lowering. Another way of looking at this, if you struggle with this, is think as I'm about to lift my left hand, I'm going to push my right hand a little bit stronger. And then as I'm about to lift my right hand, I'm just going to push my left hand down. So it is literally just a very subtle. One hand is kind of gently pulling, one hand is gently pushing. Barely any movement at all though. So that's your first one. So again, keep that going, maybe do half a minute or a minute, depending on how strong you're feeling. Then we're going to go on to lower body. So exactly the same, we want to keep the back flat. This time we tuck the toes under, and it's our kneecaps that we're thinking about breaking contact with. So we're going to start just literally taking them off the ground. We'll do both together and then touching the floor. So it's very subtle. They're not coming up too high. We're just literally breaking contact and then placing them back down. And as we're doing that, we're trying not to affect the position of our spine. Yeah, glass of water. We don't want to tip it. So we're breaking contact with the knees on the mat, and then we're gently placing them back onto the ground. Just very subtle movement. Yeah, very gentle. And you do maybe 8 or 10 lifts. Then we're going to lift and hold this time. So we're just going to break contact, abs are engaged, and we're just going to hover. And this is stamina work. So think like your plank pose. You would hold this as long as you can comfortably hold it in good form. So as soon as you start thinking that you're trembling or your back's going up or you're leaning to one side, then you come out and have a little breather. Perhaps go back into it again after that. So that's your two kind of core movements. So obviously a bit of weight bearing going on. I would loosen out your wrists afterwards. Do your wrist mobility, do your decompression, squeeze, wiggle. Then you might feel a bit of a click in the butt. It's absolutely fine. So loosen them out first. Then we're going to come into our box work, our movement work now. So again, I'll show you from a couple of different angles. So this is our basic box balance, which we all know and love, great exercise, but we're just going to add a little bit of a variation onto it. So we're going to be working same side, ipsilateral, and then diagonal, but adding a little bit of lateral abduction into this as well. So we take the limbs away from the body. All the time, back stays flat, glass of water in the middle of that, abs are engaged, hips and chest are level to the ground. So we'll start just by taking our left leg and reaching it back, square the hip up, right arm and reaching it forwards. And all we do, we're going to come into the same side. So my left knee is going to slowly come in the direction of my left elbow, as close as you can get it, so that might be halfway. You might be able to come all the way in. At the same time, my right elbow is coming in towards my right hip or my right waist. And then I very gently extend and push out. Yeah, so I come in slow and controlled, pause for a moment, and I push out. And while I'm doing that movement, I'm trying not to do any of this. Yeah, I want to keep my back flat. I want to control the pace. So we squeeze in, we extend out. If we show it from a different image, a different angle rather. Okay, so we come in slow, just pause, and then we extend and reach. Okay, so that's your first movement. So we'll just do the opposite side. So take your time again, readjust your position, back nice and flat. So this time it's going to be my right leg pushing back, engaging from underneath. Hold it for a breath, make sure that you feel balanced, and then take your time. Smooth, smooth, and controlled. Same side. Right knee comes to right elbow. Left elbow comes to left hip. Extend away. And you might have the range that you can bring this knee all the way up and almost make contact with that elbow. You're just working on increasing that range of movement. But do maybe, kind of 6 or 8 reps on either side. Work to the point where you're fatigued, but you're still keeping that nice controlled movement, slow and smooth. So that's our ipsilateral, our same side strengthening. We're now going to do diagonal, which we often do, but we're going to add a little bit of a lateral element. So again, I'll show you from 2 angles because you won't be able to see really just from the side angle. So this time it's diagonal, it's opposite arm today, but we meet in the middle. Yeah, we bring the elbow and knee together. But rather than just going forwards, I'm going to take it side. So as I come out, I move my shoulder out to the sideline and I move my leg and I abduct it to the sideline as well. So I'm going to show you from a front angle first, and then I'll show you from a reverse angle. So think about your diagonal line, meeting that centre point. So alternate arms to legs, so I've got my right arm forwards, my left leg back. So I meet in the centre, they come towards each other. But as I take them away, I'm going to take my right arm, I'm going to take it slightly out to the right side. Thumb on top, palm down, whatever's comfortable on the shoulder. My left leg, I'm going to take it back, but I'm also going to take it laterally. Okay, so I come into that centre point, back stays flat, I take it away. I'll try and show you one last angle. So from here, I'm coming centre, and I'm moving slightly out. Imagine you're driving back through that heel. So it's into the centre. As I stretch my leg, I'm taking it out to the side. As I straighten my arm, I'm taking that out to the side. All the time trying to keep that nice squared up hip and shoulder alignment. Okay, so doing opposite side. So this time it's going to be my left arm going forwards, my right leg back. So I meet in the middle. As I extend slightly out to the side. Okay, working through that. Do maybe again 6, 8, 10. You might be able to do more. If you can get to the point where you can do loads, then try and slow it down a bit, or maybe add some weight in, little tiny hand weight if you've got some ankle weights or something. So we're just adding that intensity. Even the glute bands, some people got those strappy bands that you wear around the thighs, and that would make it more challenging as well. But working on both sides evenly, obviously we want to make sure that we're balanced. And you should feel it, if you're getting this right, you kind of should feel, particularly in the lower body, outer hip and thigh a bit more around this area. Yeah, so still targeting glute, but we're just working this side line a little bit. So that's our kind of strength work, our knee, alternate knee to arm work. I'm going to finish with a back arch. So this is something that we do in class, or we used to do in class when we were allowed to share bricks. If you've got a yoga brick, brilliant. If not, I will show you in a second how you can adapt it so you can use it in your blanket. Remember, we've got 3 levels if you're working with a yoga brick. So lowest level, obviously that's easier, the less high level. A little bit harder still. We want to make sure the top of the brick, whatever level you've got it on, is on your sacrum, so it's supporting that nice big flat wedge. Yeah, it's not on your lumbar spine or on your tailbone. So we want to get it right in the right point. So I'll show you this first. So you can do this as your relaxation. I'll show you. You can stay here, pause the video, hold it as long as you comfortably want to hold it. But 3 levels. We start from a bridge. So we've got our feet hip width. Make sure that your body is nice and comfortable, back flat. You're going to take the brick, Squeeze the glutes, lift the hips up. Easy version, we just place it underneath. Rest the sacrum on it. Stretch the legs, let them roll slightly out. Arms can either go to the side or you can reach them back with your palms open. Really nice back arch, nice and gentle. So that's your kind of first level. A little bit harder, obviously, turn the brick a little bit higher. Extend out, slight outward rotation through the hips. Harder still, turn it on its top end. So it's important that you balance this. So as you come down onto it, make sure the bottom of the brick is flat so it's not going to topple. So that you kind of pin it to the floor. Walk your feet out slowly. Arms stretching back, so really deep opening for the whole front body. Should fit across the belly, hip flexors. You know, relax the neck. And as I say, if you're comfortable here, you can hold this for a minute or so at a time. Relax into it, do your breathing work. So that's if you've got a yoga brick. Now to come out, especially if you're in this third level, walk the feet in first. Plant the feet, squeeze the glutes, so you lift the hips up, and then you're going to roll back down. And I'd give your legs a little hug. If you haven't got a yoga brick, or if you just want a different variation of that, you're going to, as I say, a nice soft blanket or a big bath towel, something that you can roll up so it's got a little bit of height to it. You want it roughly the length of your spine, and we're going to have the tailbone at one end. So as we lie back onto it, the whole of my spine is being supported. Okay, very gentle, but still very effective. Legs are tipping out. Relax the head. If you wanted to, you could have your head supported on a cushion here, or you can let it relax back. Arms either open out, palms face up, or you can just let them drop onto the body. It's a nice way of just gently increasing the effectiveness of your corpse pose in terms of it being that opening, you know, an extension pose. And you could hold this, you know, you could hold this for minutes. You could even fall asleep here probably. But, you know, coming into these poses, use them as you wish. You know, do them as long as you feel comfortable doing them. All the time when we're coming out of poses, remember, take your time. Don't try and jump up too quickly. So when you're finished with your relaxation, I would suggest bringing the feet in. Give the knees a bit of a hug. Take your time, come onto your right side, roll away from the heart, and come up gently to your seated position. Okay, and then just finish with a couple of breaths just to wake you up again. So inhale, arms go up. Exhale, release down. Big inhale. Namaste. Thanks, guys. Have a lovely week. Hopefully see you soon.